Uniquely, BioGenerator is the only investor that invests exclusively in St. Louis companies. These are companies right here in the BioGenerator Labs that are quite literally developing cures for cancer, tools to more quickly and more accurately detect cancer and other diseases, treatments for new ailments, vaccines, and sustainability in agriculture, as well as develop healthier foods like plant-based proteins, for example. I'm Maggie Crane. I'm the Communications Director for BioSTL. I think a lot of people might be surprised to know that this level of innovation and technology is happening in their own backyard. St. Louis is really springboarding our entire metro area to the world stage because of our success in bioscience. BioSTL is a nonprofit, so all of the money that we bring in, we pump right back into the St. Louis ecosystem. BioGenerator, the investment and startup arm of BioSTL, creates companies. It also helps de-risk these companies by oftentimes protecting patents, paying for attorneys, purchasing specialized equipment to help these companies grow. It builds talented teams around these companies, and then it invests into these startups, often the very first money in. BioGenerator has about 50 companies that are active in its investment portfolio. These companies have gone on to raise a collective $2.2 billion in follow-on capital. That means for every single dollar that BioGenerator has invested, these companies have gone on to raise another $59. That is incredibly impressive and really putting St. Louis on the map. That venture capital is now coming from all over the world. And we know this because the majority of those investments are actually coming from outside of St. Louis. 94% to be exact, invested last year in 2021 in the BioGenerator portfolio. So for perspective, it took nearly 2 decades for the BioGenerator portfolio to raise that first $1 billion. And in the past year alone, it's raised an additional $1 billion plus. So some of those success stories come from Benson Hill. It went public last year. It is an agriculture company that is developing higher protein soybeans that can then be turned into plant-based meat. When it went public on the New York Stock Exchange, it was valued at over $1 billion. There was a time when Benson Hill very first started here in St. Louis that BioGenerator paid to keep the lights on. It helped to pay the Ameren bill as well as to fund their staff to keep them going. They were down to their last nickel, and BioGenerator stepped in to float them to keep them going. So if you look back at early days of Benson Hill, it may not have happened. We may not have seen them on the New York Stock Exchange if it had not been for that very early de-risking money that BioGenerator put in. Every dollar that BioGenerator earns through its investments are plugged right back into the St. Louis innovation ecosystem to fund the next startup, to fund the next St. Louis bioscience idea, the next St. Louis innovation. BioGenerator Ventures is really complemented by BioGenerator Labs. These are shared lab spaces that are at free or very reduced rate for startups to get started. We know that they are cash strapped at the beginning. So we have these labs that they share. They share the equipment, they share the space, making it a lot less costly for them to do business while also creating this incredibly rich environment of scientists who can spitball off of each other and bounce ideas around and often come to solutions that they may not have come to in a lab on their own, but they are finding in camaraderie here. That's also something that's been neat for me personally, is that this is cool work. I literally have colleagues who are developing cures for cancer and new vaccines. It's impressive, it's big, it's important work, and it's happening right here in St. Louis. And I think a lot of people don't know that. I love it.